What's the shittiest way a friend has shown you they weren't really your friend? My best friend since middle school got me knocked unconscious after starting a confrontation with a large group of guys. Proceeded to tell everyone we worked with that I had started it. A few weeks later, I had returned from a holiday to my home country, and he had moved one of his friends into my room at the place we were renting. Never talked to him again. Invited me to her wedding as a gesture of reconciliation, and then uninvited me when I RSVP'd, or in other words, responded to her invitation. Also, another friend took me out to lunch and let me cry to her after I broke up with my ex. She said she had to go to her mom's for a while and should be back that evening with treats and a red box. She ended up hooking up with my ex. What in the name of sanity? I'm having trouble wrapping my head around this behavior. Hopefully you never saw these sleaze buckets ever again. Hope things are better for you. Lied about me at our government job, where I was investigated by the AG and ultimately caused me to leave a job and a boss I loved. She quit when we found out it was her who lied, as she knew my boss would can her ass. Oh, and I'm the one who got her hired. How do people just wake up one day and decide to do stuff like this? She invited me over to hang out. 35 minutes in, she was like, I'll be right back. Gets in the car with the boyfriend and leaves me at her house with her kid siblings. She fucking tricked me into babysitting. Something similar happened to a friend of mine. She met a guy through church and he asked her out. He said to meet him at his apartment. He had his kids that weekend, and as soon as she arrived, he said he had to go make a phone call at the payphone, even though he had a landline in his apartment. This was before cell phones. He finally came back hours later. She was in her early 30s and didn't even think of calling cops or the police until days later. She did tell the minister at the church, though. What part of saying, could you help me out? I need someone to take care of my siblings so I can go on a date. It was so difficult. It's definitely a situation where you leave and call the non-emergency police line and tell them kids are left at home alone. That'll sort itself out in time. I was 16, I didn't know that at the time. I just wanted friends, but now that I'm older, I'm not as naive. My friend, we live on EST, texted my roommate/owner of the condo who was living in California at 5 o'clock in the morning PST to say I was high on meth and having sex parties every night. I was fast asleep. Turns out he was the high one texting so early. He was upset at me about something I stood up for and tried to make me homeless. Signed a peer-made petition at school that I couldn't steal with a certain group which was made of my friends and general acquaintances. I'm not sure who the bad guy is in my story. I had a best friend for 10 years starting freshman year of high school. We were like brothers. We started getting into weed about 21. I was sure he ripped me off picking up for me this one time, so we stopped talking for about 3 months. I randomly hit him up and made peace with him. During our conversation of making peace, I asked him, was he ever planning on contacting me again? He told me no. That ate at me for some reason. Over the next year and a half, I stopped trusting him, and he also grew toxic, bitter. His father passed and made it all worse. And it felt like every time we hung out, my friends were all talking shit about me before we met up. I just one day blocked his number and every close friend in our group of friends I've known for years without a single word or warning of goodbye. He tried to reach out to me, said horrible things to me in messages from Xbox and PC before I could block everything I could think of. One of my friends who was on my side told his next closest friend that he robbed him at some point. I took part of this robbery myself. He took it out on me and sent me even more nasty messages to me and my girlfriend. I finally sent him one last message, told him he would never hear from me again and to fuck off. It's been almost 7 years since we talked, and I think about him every day. He messaged me once on Instagram when I made one in 2019, apologizing for everything he might have done to hurt me and said he's never had a friend like me since. I feel the same. I just ignored it. I feel so twisted inside. Both of us made many mistakes in our friendship when we were younger. Neither was innocent. But I was always the one to abandon him. A part of me could never forgive him for telling me that one day long ago for saying no to my question if he was ever planning on contacting me. Clearly he would have, since he did 2019. For whatever reason, I always felt like that no was what made me ghost him in the end. I don't know why. Life is hard. Be good to one another. Planned another girl's birthday during my birthday when I was there with them. They didn't even remember my birthday. They kept talking about which cafe the girl likes and where they should celebrate it, and which gift the girl would or would not like, and what would be the perfect birthday for that girl. And the girl's birthday was still a month away. Drove them to a place twice for 10 hours, to a place to play airsoft, only to be kicked out of their PlayStation party where they were planning their birthday party at an airsoft field. This spread some thick-skinned NGL. Still have no friends, and I'm happy like this. I got married back in 2010 and of course wanted my best friend of 15 years to be my maid of honor. In the months leading up to the wedding, she kept shrugging off duties and being very distant. One night, the whole wedding party went out to a comedy club, and we all had a great time, except she sat behind a bridesmaid she didn't like and spent the entire night mocking her and being childish. When I asked her about it later and said, please just get along for the sake of the wedding, she got mad at me and said, she can just be your maid of honor then. I later found out that she had really just wanted to attend a pool tournament in Vegas, which happened to be the same day as my wedding. I didn't see her again or speak to her for about a year. She has sort of apologized since then, but because I've since gotten divorced, she will still to this day will say, well, since I wasn't there, it didn't really count, as if it's a funny joke. I have sort of forgiven her based on some mental struggles I know she has, but things just aren't the same, and she's still very self-centered and selfish. We still barely speak anymore.